meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons, the Transformers. Robots in the skies. The Transformers. More than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Autobots, start your engines! Ready, Prime. Stand back, Bumblebee. It's my turn at bat. Hey, Optimus, how'd you like to hear number one on the Decepticon Hot Cassette Charts? Okay, folks, it's showtime!
It's disrupting our motor controls!
Boy, a Robotoid turkey shoot! Out of sight, Inferno! You burned the little budget? Caboose! Sounds all right to me.
What is going on, everyone? I am back once again with another video review, and in this review I will be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 #1 Autobot Jazz. For those of you who are wondering what Studio Series 86 is, basically Hasbro and Takara are introducing the 1986 Transformers movie characters into Studio Series. So it's essentially a subline within the regular movie Studio Series toy line, and seeing as Transformers the movie, which is the 1986 movie from Generation 1, is also a movie, it makes sense for them to include some of those characters that were in that movie. Though that isn't always the case, as evident by some characters that were in the 1986 movie having appeared in the concurrently running War for Cybertron trilogy. And to differentiate Studio Series from Studio Series 86, the 86 is the obvious big number, with the released figure having a smaller number, so Jazz being the first figure released in Studio Series, and the backdrops having, instead of an Autobot or Decepticon insignia, having the number 86, and obviously with the Transformers the movie text. Taking a quick look at the packaging, his name is Autobot Jazz, Studio Series 86, little 01 from Transformers the movie, Transformers text and Generations logo. The side of the box shows a pullback image of Jazz. This side of the box just shows an up-close image of Jazz smiling, because he's cool like that. He's Deluxe class, Studio Series 8601. Backdrop, big screen inspired, obviously Transformers the movie. Moonbase 1 destruction. Transforms in 20 steps from his robot to alternate mode. And a very brief bio. Now, Jazz's very brief bio is basically telling what Jazz did in the movie. Jazz makes a futile escape as Unicron devours Moonbase 1. Now, for those of you who have seen the 1986 Transformers movie, know that Jazz, along with Cliffjumper, were the only Autobots stationed on Moonbase 1, with Bumblebee and Spike being stationed on Moonbase 2, both of which were devoured by Unicron. Jazz, however, survives within Unicron and survives the events of the movie, being one of the only 1984 characters to survive the movie, as unlike some of the others, despite the fact that his original Generation 1 toy was discontinued, Jazz survived the events of the movie and lived to see the third season of the G1 cartoon. So they have that for the packaging, and I'm pretty sure we can all agree that this is probably the best and most accurate Generation 1 figure of Jazz, as previous generations figures of Jazz were more or less toy-based, as they all had the door wings, while in the cartoon, Jazz didn't have door wings, as his doors were basically nowhere. Whereas on the original toy, he had door wings. So, yeah, Jazz, as you see here, is a completely all new and highly detailed, accurate mold to his appearance in not just the 1986 movie, but to his appearance in the G1 cartoon as a whole. Though, obviously, Hasbro did not want to pay for licensing issues to his original Porsche alternate mode, so they had to stylize him a bit, but still keep his accuracy, as evident by the fact that instead of having the number 4, it is 14 for the doors. Granted, if you have something that can cover the 1 and leave the 4, you can do that. Taking a quick look at the details, has the Autobot symbol slap bang on the center of the hood, with a nice blue and red stripe going down the center, though not obviously all the way back here for reasons. Nice white with obviously the highlighted 14 in black. Nice silver for the front section. Nice headlights picked out in blue. The wheels picked out in black and silver. Now, the front wheels are on this mushroom peg, which is kind of ugly to see a mushroom peg here, but the back wheels are on pins. So while they're not a good batch in terms of how they are, they're still pretty good. Nothing really at the back, as the back is just the feet folded up. He rolls as rolling things should. His gun I will touch upon base in robot mode, but due to the 5mm peg on his roof, which will obviously be his back in robot mode, you can plug the gun on there like so. It is optional if you want to have that. If you want to store it on the back, though I probably wouldn't recommend doing this, you can store it on the back using literally either of these portholes. So it's not visible, though it will still be visible, as evident by the obvious feet hanging out. But he still rolls even if you store the gun on the back on either of the ports on the feet. Now, unlike the live-action movie Studio Series figures, the Studio Series 86 figures sort of carry over from the War for Cybertron trilogy in terms of, the portholes, though that is not usually the case, as the only portholes on Jazz will be on his roof / back, his feet, and his hands. But overall, he still hits the marks for the G1 Jazz. Moving on to some size comparisons now. Here he is with fellow 1984 bots, Optimus and Starscream, both of which were released in Earthrise. Obviously, Starscream is a Voyager, so he's going to be smaller, and he's going to be bigger. Now, if you're wondering if Jazz can fit in Optimus' trailer, not really. The front half can fit, but the back half doesn't allow it, so he can sort of fit, but he doesn't really fit. Comparing Jazz next to Optimus without the trailer. Obviously, Optimus being a Voyager with the trailer for the leader class price point. Obviously, Jazz is still going to be smaller with Optimus without the trailer. On to some other comparisons. Here he is with another 1984 Autobot, that being Hound. This is the Siege figure. We have yet to get an Earth Mode Hound, though I expect that it's still in the works. Because I have this version of the mold, here he is with deep cover, since I don't have fellow 1984 Autobot Sideswipe or 1985 Autobot Red Alert. Obviously, Siege Mold, but it still works. Here he is with Warpath, just because. Obviously, Warpath is a mini bot, but the real life tank would be bigger, so yeah. Also, just because here he is with 1986 Decepticon Cyclonus. Now, as I said before, Studio Series 86 concurrently runs with the War for Cybertron trilogy, as evident by Cyclonus, who is a character that appeared in the 1986 movie, having been released in Kingdom. Now, Cyclonus, along with Galvatron, were released in Kingdom, but their fellow Decepticon Scourge was released in Studio Series 86, along with Jazz and a few others. But the scale still works. Moving on to one more comparison. Here he is compared next to 1986 introduced Autobots RC and Ultra Magnus. So you can see how that works out. Obviously, because this is Magnus, you can put Jazz on top. So there you have that. Transformation, 20 steps. It's simple, which is to be expected from Jazz. What you want to do is take the doors, untab them from what will become his arms in robot mode. So there you have this. Then what you want to do is come back here. All of this will become his legs. Fold down the feet. Untab this from all this, then extend the legs, fold down the wheels like so, fold up the feet, and split from the tab here, and there you have the legs. Moving on to the arms, pretty straightforward. Fold them up like so, rotate right here so the wheels hide in robot mode. Rotate the arm like this. Obviously the same for both sides. Now here's the tricky part, because Jazz has translucent clear plastic, and from what I've heard, it has broken on some copies, so hopefully it doesn't break on mine. Now, it's easy to do it it's easy to do vehicle to robot, but robot to vehicle is a whole nother story. Which is why if you have the figure, you know from experience. So, yeah. What you want to do, hopefully this doesn't snap. Untab this whole section from this, bring it back like so. Then take this little piece right here in the center, rotate it like so, which is clever engineering well, I wouldn't say clever, as this is accurate to his on-screen model. Push this down in like so, fold up the head on this panel like so. Then what you want to do, just bring the whole body down like so. Then this will slot onto these two slots, locks into place like so. Then what you want to do is take the roof, which will compress into his back, take this section, fold that up, fold it in like so, watch out in case it does break, then fold in the doors, then fold it into his back, rotate and fold out the hands like so, and here we have Jazz in his robot mode. And as I said before, this is probably the most accurate figure we've gotten of Jazz for not just the 1986 movie, but Generation 1 as a whole. And we all know the Wolf Cybertron trilogy has done pretty much that by giving us accurate figures of not just the G1 characters, but also the Beast Wars characters, as well as giving us new original characters just for the sake of the toy line. Let's take a quick look at the details. Obviously, when you see that visor, you know it's Jazz. Nice black for the helmet, nice silver for the face, nice powder-ish blue for the visor. Nice white and black going on throughout the entire figure with obviously some highlights of silver. Nice black for the hands and bicep as well as shoulders and elbow joint. White for the forearms, silver for the torso, blue and black for the crotch, white for the upper legs and thighs, black and silver going on for the lower legs, shins, and feet. The back is there, but it compresses nicely, especially even with the gun on it. Articulation wise, head is on a ball joint, it can rotate the full 360. Due to the transformation joint, it is on this hinge. Not really much of a butterfly hinge as it goes in and out, as it is transformation joint. Arms can do the full 360, can go in and out, and they sculpted in an interior detailing so it's not just one clean cut. Bicep rotation meant for transformation on a swivel joint. 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, nothing at the wrist, sadly. Waist articulation can do the full 360. Legs can kick forward this far, back to about that far, out. He can do the full splits, though not like this. You would have to kick the leg forward and then use the hinge right here to get a sort of split. Rotation at the thigh on a swivel joint, which it can do the full 360, but I wouldn't recommend doing it all the way. If you can, I recommend doing it like this. Bend at the knee, though watch out for the tab that doesn't want to seem to stay in. If you can hold the tab in, you get a good 90 degrees of bend at the knee. And as per tradition with the Wolf Cybertron trilogy figures, and now the Studio Series 86 figures, you get an ankle tilt. Though granted, waist joints and ankle tilts aren't always guaranteed, and same with the wrist rotation. But it works. Even if he doesn't have wrist rotation, it works. Storage, as you see, either 5mm port will plug onto his back, while this plugs onto his roof for vehicle mode or into either of his hands. So you can have him hold his gun like so. And like the Wolf Cybertron trilogy figures, the Studio Series 86 figures have a sort of blast effect compatibility for the gun or ports all around. But seeing as Jazz is a Studio Series 86 figure and not a War for Cybertron trilogy figure, he doesn't have all the port holes on the arms and legs, and even the sort of blast effect ports that you would see littered throughout those figures released in the line. Unfortunate. Now, if you saw my live stream unboxing of him, the gun broke, so the only thing holding it together is tape. However, I will still be able to show off the blast effect compatibility on the gun. So, it is doable. Just watch out if your copy has a broken gun. If you have tape or super glue, see if that'll hold. But yeah, he is blast effect compatible. Obviously, blast effect port on his back. Obviously, storage for the gun. Blast effect, well, 5mm peg for the hands, and obviously 5mm post for the feet, so you can give him rocket boots if you want to. So there you have that. On to comparisons. Here he is with Optimus and Starscream from Earthrise. Obviously, Jazz is going to be smaller than both of them since they're both Voyager class figures. There you have that. Here he is with Hound and Deep Cover. Deep Cover because I don't have Sideswiper Red Alert, but the mold is still the same. Jazz and Hound appear to be around the same height, though Hound appears to be a bit taller. As for the Sideswipe mold comparison, they appear to be around the same height, going by the horns that they have. Though Jazz appears to be a bit taller than the Sideswipe Red Alert mold. So there you have that. Here he is with Warpath. Obviously, a mini bot is going to be now Warpath is one of the taller mini bots, so obviously he's going to be shorter than Jazz, but still close enough. And that was just because here he is with Cyclonus. And for some extra comparisons, here he is with RC and Ultra Magnus. Obviously, Ultra Magnus is a leader, so he's gonna sort of tower over Jazz. RC being a deluxe, she is around the same height as Jazz. So there you have that. Now, as per tradition with regular Studio Series figures and the Studio Series 86 figures, they come with backdrops. Jazz's backdrop, as mentioned on the packaging and seen in the actual movie, Jazz's backdrop is him on Moonbase 1. Now, if you have the Earthrise Cliff Jumper, which I do not, you can have Cliff Jumper on the same backdrop with Jazz, since Cliff Jumper is a mini bot and is obviously shorter than Jazz. So there you have this. If you have the HasLab Unicron, you can sort of recreate the scene where Unicron devours Moonbase 1 and Moonbase 2. Though obviously the backdrop here is that of Moonbase 1. So, yeah. And I like how Hasbro and Takara were damn it, I can't speak. They were able to recreate the scene in this backdrop. Now, obviously, all Studio Series and SS86 figures are going to have a backdrop depicting a certain scene mentioned on the bio on the back of their box. So as you see here, Moonbase 1 makes sense considering Jazz was never on Earth throughout the 1986 movie. He and Cliffjumper were mostly on Moonbase 1 before it was destroyed. So it makes sense that they would give Jazz this backdrop, and it has some nice detailing depicting the scene. So yeah, overall, I recommend Jazz if you do not have a Jazz in your collection. He is really, really good. He is that cool because, well, Jazz is cool. So obviously this figure is going to be cool. I give him a solid 9.5 out of 10. The lack of a wrist joint is kind of what holds him back, but even if he had that, he's still a good figure. He's still pretty great for what he is. He does what Jazz does as a figure. Granted, even if he doesn't have the door wings, he still works. The door wings are only toy accurate when compared to the cartoon / comic accurate non-door wings. I mean, you can still do the door wings, though it doesn't really work that well. So yeah, if you see him, do not pass up on him, especially if you are a fan of not just the 1986 movie, but if you're also a fan of Jazz's character, if you've seen the Generation 1 cartoon as a whole. So yeah, there you have it, guys. There is my review on the Transformers Studio Series 86 #1 Deluxe Class Jazz. I hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.
Where'd that come from?
Who cares? I'm more worried about where it's going.
Talk to me, Earth. We got a situation out here. Got to blast free if we can.
Ignition and...
Hit it!
Jazz, we're not getting away! You got the power! You got the... Hey, I thought Blur was supposed to be in this one. No, they got some kind of something.